my phone.
Broadcast is live.
Okay. Hello, everyone. We are here coming in chaotic, and but we are here. We're going to talk about Tyler's Row and the Christmas Mouse, and I'm very excited. Hi to Elizabeth Brink. Oh, so this is our first our group chat as on StreamYard. So this is exciting because I can do things like that.
Yay.
Hi, Lady Big. um, and I can also play with things like it says the brand, like colors of the bubbles. But I do love blue, so I don't know if I'll change that. But
StreamYard has stepped up its game since I was doing things on there.
well, now I'm curious. Let's see. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Woo! Rainy, what is your favorite color?
Purple.
Purple. I mean,
Yes,
this is
which-
getting close to purple. Ooh.
Yeah,
Ooh,
like,
ooh,
I
I
like
like
that.
that.
It's very
That's nice.
spring.
It is.
Yes.
All right. Yes. We're going. This is already. I'm like, we'll change it seasonally.
This is very on brand for you.
It is. And to making an event out of anything mundane, I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Hi to Sharon.
Come to think of it, in our Instagram chat for this, we have never changed the theme seasonally.
What is wrong with us?
I don't know. We need to change this. This is not like us at all.
Yes. So I'm very excited to discuss with you ladies these two books. One is more like a bookette. And it seems like I think Angie was just saying to us, she thinks realistically she can meet back with us in the summer. She's had a lot of transition, a job change, and then moving. So there's just a lot going on. So it's completely understandable that sometimes when life gets in the way. Yes. So
Carry on without her for a while.
see, there's just so much to play with. Edit the layout. I should be all right. I've got to
edit the layout.
calm down.
What's that mean? This is just going to be a live stream of us just getting distracted by weird things.
I know. Okay. So I really enjoyed Tyler's Row. It was what I was hoping it would be. Although I found Peter Hale, is that his name? The new resident? Okay.
Yeah.
I found him a bit of a grumpy grump.
He was, yes.
Yes. Hi to Shelley. But I did, despite that, I really enjoyed this. Yes. I loved kind of the idea of taking these houses that I generally think of, and maybe this is not right, but I generally think of all the houses in Fairacre as being immaculately kept, except for who's the little boy that's always getting in his, what's that?
Oh, yeah.
The Cogs.
Yes. I don't picture their house being pristine.
Yeah. I feel like their house is like one of the houses in a Dickens house in London.
Absolutely. Yes. But I did, so I was a little bit surprised that here's this whole row of houses, but it's also kind of a section of Fairacre that we haven't been welcomed into that much. We haven't kind of gotten to see the inside of them. So it was really interesting to see. Also kind of I didn't totally comprehend at first that they were going to be kind of taking care of all those houses when they moved in. That was...
Yeah, I don't think I understood that either. Whenever because they didn't really say, I didn't think that they were going to be landlords all of a sudden, or were they? I still don't even know, like that Mrs. Fowler lady that is crazy. She, like, I didn't understand what her deal was, like so I thought she was the landlord, but then Peter Hale was taking care of everything and like getting involved. So
I think she was nosy. I think
Okay.
she didn't have much going on with her life, hence stealing the plants. Um, and
Weird.
also, I would just be way too embarrassed to do something like that.
I
You know what I
know.
mean? Like,
Like,
I think it's very human to covet things like, oh boy, if I had that, I would be happy. Everyone is guilty of doing that. But
yeah.
then to not have the impulse control, and then you have to talk about like why, and there was no like acknowledging that what she did was sketchy. It was like,
Mhm.
moving on. Um,
Yeah, like she was mad at everybody else for getting mad at her.
yes, yes, it's everyone else's fault.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, lady, you stole our property. Like, come on. You are a thief.
yes, yes. Um, yeah. So, also, I remember that we had said this when we were very early into the series, which this was the 10th, the Christmas Mouse was the 10th one. It does not feel like we've been through that many books. Um, but how it is a little bit jarring how it goes between third person and first person, and
Mhm.
even within the same chapter. So that to me, I mean, I know you can kind of push the boundary, push the envelope with your writing style, but I feel like that just breaks so many of the rules. Um, and so that is kind of it's a pet peeve, but it's the writing is so charming that I'm just able to kind of forgive it once
Yeah.
I get into the flow of the book.
Mhm.
Um, Also, I got very excited about the potential romance for Miss Reed.
I
I
know.
think, like, as a defense mechanism, she's like, "Oh, Gerard, he's like or Gerald, he's not at all interested in marriage. Like, he's just not interested in it." And I think
That's how
she's
love tropes go.
exactly, exactly. Well, and it just made me think of I had this teacher in high school who said, you know, I'm never getting married. Like, I never want to get married. And she was really quiet and soft spoken,
Mhm.
and I think just maybe like a lot of personalities paired with her would kind of like stifle her. And I
Mhm.
think she just thought there was nobody out there for her. And then she got married a few years later. So I think she just meant like, I don't want to marry the wrong person.
Mhm. Right.
Um, oh, okay. Annie points out about Mrs. Fowler. That's just like,
I
that's
know.
really rotten.
She should be in jail. Like,
We should.
she
No,
should.
totally.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, I know the law enforcement field, and she for reasons that if you don't know me, you might be able to guess. And we would put people in jail for that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Uh,
Um, well, Rainey, what did you think of Tyler's Row?
I really liked it. At first, I thought it was gonna go into like a past. What am I trying to say? Like, because when they talked about how there was this plaque from 1763 or whatever
Yes.
on the house, I thought we were gonna get like the backstory of where Tyler's Row came from. So I was a tad disappointed that we didn't get that.
Mm,
But then at the same time, it wouldn't have really made sense because not it's not the Fairacre people that the time period that we know. Like we've gotten a little bit of like the backstory, but it's always backstory on the people we are reading about. We've read about like Emily Davis and Miss Clare and everybody. So I was a teensy bit disappointed about that, but I did fully enjoy the characters by the end. Like just the whole Miss Fowler thing was just like, what?
I know.
and then the old guy, I can't remember his name, Barnaby or
Sergeant or
Sergeant, whatever.
yes.
But he was cute in a curmudgeonly kind of way.
Yes.
I mean, I would hate to live beside him, but oh, and I just like I felt for the Hales that were living in between these two people
Yes.
because I live in a townhouse between people, and
Oh,
thank goodness they all get along. But
yes.
But it is kind of like, especially in the summertime, there will be, if I have my front door open, there will just be chatter and like just goings on outside my door. And sometimes that's fine. And then sometimes I'm like, just leave me alone. Because I used to have this neighbor that would like call in the door at me. Like I was not at the door and she didn't
Oh,
and she wasn't like coming for any reason, but she just like yell things into my door. And, and I'm like, do I have to keep my big door closed all the time now? So I felt her pain. but
yes.
yeah, but I liked her, and I liked them. I liked the Hales, even though Peter was a little bit of a curmudgeon.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I would have been like him too if I had to deal with these people.
Yes.
Because again, I would just be like, why don't these people just leave me alone and live their lives?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about my time living in a row home in Philadelphia, and we had this one special needs guy who would linger on the corner,
Oh
but
yeah,
he would like mutter obscenities. And
that's great.
right? Like but he was smart and he knew kind of the persona that he should put on when people were actually walking by him, and he would like smile and wave. And then as soon as they would walk away, he'd be like, "Why don't you talk to me? Why do you like to talk to me?"
Oh no.
Maybe because you're kind of scary. So it was like I would want to have the windows open on a nice spring day, and then there's Frank muttering down there, sometimes muttering about me.
Gosh.
So yeah, I feel that pain, and it does when you're in neighbors on both sides of your walls. Like you really hear a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sometimes I wonder about
Annie
that.
says, "What's that?"
I was just saying, sometimes I wonder about that because I'm usually just here by myself. But like when I'm doing these things, I'm like, can they hear every word that I'm saying?
I bet it's very muffled.
Yeah. Although I did have my neighbor tell me that she has heard me snore before.
Are you serious?
Yes.
In my old apartment, I could hear the people snoring.
Gosh,
I could hear their phone I could hear their phone vibrate. Like they wouldn't even have it on ring, and I would go be like, "Where's my phone? Like, is my phone ringing? Is it vibrate?" And then I eventually realized, no, it's their phone.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Which would make me scared. Then I'm like, man, if I can hear my phone vibrating, like,
what else can they
hear? They can hear everything that's going on in my apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, Annie says I thought the Hills were more than patient with their tenants. More patience than I would have had.
Yes, they were. Yeah,
they were trying.
Fascinating. Like they seem to just be like, even if you buy a house, you just can't kick tenants out until they want to leave, like indefinitely. Which I don't know if that's an actual legal thing in the UK or back then, because I'm like, I mean, here I think you have to give, I don't know how much, if you buy a house that's already tenanted, you have to give them some amount of like maybe 3 months notice to get out or something, but it's not like you could never make the move out.
Well, and also the one that would have really been trying for me is when all of the dogs are barking outside in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That's if something interferes with my sleep, I'm not nice, Kate. Like there was one time we had neighbors above us. Oh, this is so awful. And they had, I think it was like 4 20-somethings sharing an apartment. None of them had the same work schedule. And this is when I had a newborn. And so sometimes I would be jolted awake at 2 a.m. And I was going to be woken up by the baby in like 45 minutes. There was one time, it was like, I just was filled with so much rage that when I was woken up, I just walked right out of my apartment upstairs and like banged on their door.
Oh no.
Later on, my husband was like, "Hey, you cannot do that. Like you can't behave like that. What they were terrified. Like no one came to the door. And then it was very quiet after that. But it was so annoying because another time they woke me up at 3 a.m. and I was going to fly later that day at 7 a.m. And I was so annoyed that I wasn't able to get back to sleep.
Oh, yeah. That happens too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is just going to end up being like us just ranting about our neighbors.
And then, oh, yes. I contained my Broadway exuberance singing to the workday. I remember one time, I don't know how it came up, but there was another guy at the checkout line in Target. And somehow we got talking about his living arrangement. And he lived underneath a daycare.
Oh, no.
And they had not told him. And he's like, they showed me the apartment in the evening when all the daycare kids were gone.
Oh, no. Tricky little tricksters.
Yes.
Oh, yikes.
So, Chelsea, what did you think of this one?
I really liked it too. I enjoyed, there was like a fun plot with it, a little bit of drama. I loved all the descriptions about the garden.
Oh, yes.
What plants she wanted to plant and like different seasonal descriptions of her garden. I absolutely loved that. There was two quotes that I wrote down. The one was when she was like sympathizing with Hitler about impatience. That is the weirdest analogy, especially for a British book published like fairly close to the end of the war. Like it would be kind of odd now as an analogy, but I'm like, man, that was like published like 20 years after the war. Anyway, that made me laugh out loud. And then I also found it fascinating. There was one time when she was at a garden, not her garden, but she was at like a public garden, Diana Hale. Mm-hmm. And it said, Diana began to wonder, not for the first time, if women imbibed the atmosphere of a place more quickly than men. Had they a more ready response to surroundings? Because I guess you saw all the women coming out and like just loving. She felt like their faces actually changed as they like walked in the garden. Mm-hmm. I thought that was an interesting quote and question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love talking about the cat getting stressed out when they were moving. And it says, no after breakfast stroll in the garden, no visiting of Charlie, the next door Siamese, to polish off his breakfast, no mid-morning snack. It was enough to put a cat in a rage, and Tom indulged his fury to the utmost. He repelled Diana's sympathetic advances, wriggling from her arms and gazing at her malevolently from the windowsill. He had noticed the hated cat basket earlier in the day and knew that something unpleasant was afoot. Another trip to see the vet, another stay at the kennels. Whatever was planned was not going to be approved by Tom, and he showed his displeasure plainly. Cats are not shy to show their displeasure.
Nope. Poor Tom.
Poor Tom. Poor kitty.
My cats always knew when it was time for a vet appointment too. It was not enjoyable for anybody.
Yes. And my grandparents, even they had to, when they would be about to go on a trip, they would have to like hide their suitcases and like strategically put things in. Otherwise the cat would leave some stuff on the suitcase.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Our dog would just get really sad. Like our dog would just get really sad when the suitcase is taken, and like not just like lie there and like look at you and then like not want to get up and play or anything. And it's like, oh, you're making me feel guilty. Like
I think it was so funny that Peter only had like one tune he could hum with slight variations. Peter's repertoire was limited, but gave him a great deal of private pleasure. That's actually what makes me think. My husband, he whistles like around 5 different tunes. But I find like somebody like cheerfully whistling, I find it very like cozy and comforting. So I don't mind that he's only limited to 5 different tunes.
I have a coworker that whistles the same tune every time he walks up to the front of the office. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It's starting to be, he is not my favorite person. So it's starting to be very grating.
Yes. No, it can, yeah.
But it's taken years for it to get that way. So
okay, I loved a quote that is so Miss Pringle. So Miss Reed is talking about seeing a dull brown stone that who's wearing on a necklace? Vanessa, the very lugubrious Vanessa. So it says, "This stone reminded me of one shown me once by Mrs. Pringle. She had told me with much relish that it came from her mother's gallbladder and was much treasured in the family. I am a squeamish woman and have never quite got over this shattering experience." I don't think you have to be squeamish even to not be thrilled to see someone's family member's gallbladder.
It is a very odd thing to use as a pendant.
Yes. Someone joked before, use our face cream or else. I don't know why I don't get this. Mrs. Fowler was buying it because she won several thousands.
Oh. Yes, because she was like if you don't use face cream, you're going to look like this.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember thinking that was funny too. I was like, ooh, ouch.
I think a thing that I find really endearing about these books is how in the midst of kind of all the busyness in life, there's always some times where characters will sit back and take stock of life and reflect and kind of their hopes and dreams for the future. And this is right at the this might be the closing passage of the book, or it's getting close to the end. It says, holding the cool stalks of mint, she looked at their home. There it stood as it had done for generations, silvery thatched, ancient and snug, melting into the shadowy background of trees and downland. How many men and women who had lived there, thought Diana, had stood as she did now, looking upon their home and finding it good. The windows glowed from the dark bulk of the building. Diana, shivering with the first chill of autumn, went thankfully towards the warm haven of Tyler's Row.
So nice.
What a respite that home can be.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the quiz seemed funny. They had them sit up on a stage and just ask them questions.
Oh yeah.
Okay. But it felt more like an interview almost.
Yeah. When they first started talking about it, I was like, "Oh, is this like pub quiz night?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Wait, no. Are they like they're asking them their opinions about things?" Like, okay, this doesn't sound like a fun evening.
It's almost like a weird city council meeting. Like,
yeah,
you can like go and air your grievances, but it was just kind of a couple people from the community that were influential.
Yeah, it was like a mixture of a town hall and then an interview.
Yeah,
it was.
But then they
quiz night.
Yeah, and then at one point she's like, I don't know if she was being facetious, but she was saying like, almost she was calling it almost like it was boring, but then she was saying like, our mild-mannered frivolity or something like that, like that they were having fun, but it was like the entertainment portion or something of their evening, and it's like, what is this? What are you doing?
I know.
I love the descriptions of the parent-teacher meetings, and then like the one lady that wouldn't be quiet, and everyone kept like looking at their watches and being like, "How long?"
Awful. He would not take the hint, and it was like 9:00 by the time she was done.
I'm like, this is parent-teacher association. That means all these people have kids, and you're keeping them till like after 9 p.m.
Yeah, and then they had to abbreviate their social time.
That's what I was thinking of. Yes, that yeah, we abbreviated our social time, and
Yes.
Oh boy, their idea of fun in that village is a little bit different.
Well, at least when they had the like Fairacre Festival, I think that
Oh
seems
yeah,
like
that's
it would
true.
be fun.
Yeah,
But
that.
the other stuff, not maybe quite.
I
So
feel
much.
like they go to like the younger people probably go to Caxley or something for like movies and things.
Yeah, that seems also like kind of what Miss Claire and Emily Davis would have
Oh yeah, that's true.
done.
Yeah, because they ride the bus a lot to.
They did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because we've not talked about Vanessa yet.
Yeah. We need to talk about her.
I think she seems a bit confused. And really, if you can't decide whether to go into a convent or take up the guitar, should you rush into a marriage? Is that really the best thing to be doing with your life?
Yeah. Maybe take a breath and think about your life for a little bit.
Although I will say one thing, I'm kind of impressed. Like, she doesn't seem superficial. If she's willing to kind of like overlook all of these things in the Colonel.
Yeah, I didn't get that relationship very much, but I thought that was kind of funny though, because that's like a real life situation almost, like
Yeah.
a young girl would get herself just all infatuated with this older man, and
Yes.
then like everyone talks about it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Now, were you both taken with Gerald? Because I was very taken with Gerald.
Yeah, I can see her liking him and it being a thing.
Yes.
And yeah, I think he would be a good match.
I didn't get that vibe at all.
Really?
I totally thought he was going to end up with Vanessa.
I was a little bit worried for a minute there.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too. Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, Vanessa's, because she had said before she went up to Scotland, like, oh, I would never fall for some like young man in a kilt or whatever. And then like 2 chapters later, it's like Vanessa's fallen for a young man in a kilt. But yeah, now I'm intrigued because I had just like, I guess, believed Miss Reed's protestations and.
Oh no, methinks the lady doth protest too much.
Chelsea, every single lady has got to get married because it'll happen when you least expect it. As I have been told on more than one occasion.
It is a truth universally acknowledged.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just feel like, especially in a series like this, like she's gonna marry her off. But I mean, I could be wrong. Miss Reed could be content.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
It's more like I feel sorry for her.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's Amy again.
Yeah. I guess I just don't really understand, other than sympathy, why Miss Reed is her friend.
I don't either.
Because she's just not nice to her.
Maybe because they go way back.
Yeah, I guess so. But like Miss Reed seems like the type that wouldn't take that kind of thing. And
I know.
But yet she's taking it from, I mean, she says things to Amy, but I feel like you can only do that for so long before you're just like, I'm out. Like, don't call me.
It's funny though, because I'm thinking both my mom and my aunt they each have gotten stuck with a different annoying friend that just like will not let go of them.
Yeah.
And just, they're just very like sharp-tongued and just very intense. And they've made sure that they stay in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for Amy, and I feel like Miss Reed does too, and that's kind of why she has sympathy for her and knows that some of what she says is like hiding her own insecurities.
Yeah.
especially around her relationship. So, yeah.
It seems like she knows Amy very well. And so she doesn't take it personally when Amy says ridiculous things. So yeah, Sharon says they're different from each other, but there's real affection between them. And I do agree with that. I do think she's genuinely fond of her.
Yeah. Because I think Miss Reed probably knows that something's going to happen at some point. And yeah, and she's got to be there.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that is a true friendship to know, like, okay, here, these character qualities that kind of grate on me about this person, but I love them and I accept them as they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love this. Lots and lots of charm.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
She really doesn't. I love that.
I did love in this book, though, when she was worried, like she wore that bright scarf.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, Clark, people are going to think I'm garish. Like, for my bright scarf. And it was like, yeah.
I just love how when she walked to like the quiz at the town or at the school, how then Mrs. Pringle was like, ooh, when she saw her in like the bright colors.
Mrs. Pringle needs to just like chill out a little.
Like she looks like one of those painted ladies.
Oh yeah.
Well, the Christmas Mouse. So what's funny is my introduction to Miss Reed was right plop in the middle of the Fairacre series with the Christmas Mouse and No Holly for Miss Quinn. I love these books because they are just reliably comforting. And so it was lovely to return to the Christmas Mouse. And I feel like they're able to feel so poignant in such a few amount of pages, which makes me wonder, would I like short stories by Miss Reed? Because so often it's the brevity of short stories that like I just have trouble loving them. But I feel like Miss Reed could do them well.
I think so too. Because like a lot of her things are almost a short story.
Yes.
Yeah. So
exactly.
And they're just so cozy. Like I feel like a short story is good in a cozy form. Like I don't want a lot of drama in a short story.
Yeah, it's too hard to have it all happen at a good pace.
Right.
And actually now I'm thinking kind of the Rosamund Pilcher short stories that I've read, I've enjoyed those.
Okay.
And she
because I'm not really a short story reader either, but I've read a few, like mostly Christmas ones. There's like nothing like super dramatic happening, but it's just like, oh, this is nice.
Totally. Yeah. And like fairy tales, I find that's I really love those, the well-written ones. So I just really enjoyed this, and I thought it was sweet to see kind of this little window into time for a family when they are not right at the beginning of grieving, but they're still, they'll always feel the loss of, the father and then the husband of the daughter. I texted my friend Heather that I don't think she's watching this tonight, but like, do we get to see this family more later in the series? Because she did tell me that you see Miss Quinn later on in the series, but you don't see them. I think they're just like mentioned one time, she said.
Okay.
But I would have loved to see things kind of unfold for them.
Yeah.
So Chelsea, what did you think of the Christmas Mouse?
I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite in the series. I think I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was sweet. Like you just said, I would love to see kind of, was it Mary who was the mother, the middle mother, not the grandma, but the mother. I would love to see that new little relationship, kind of where it goes. The grandma kind of annoyed me a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I found it a little bit too preachy, kind of, on this poor little boy. Who was he was a bit annoying also, but it like, I don't know. It's like, it's totally the whole, reminds me a little bit about some of the stuff with Dooley. It's like, you're just going to like let him go back. Like, you're not going to drive him or like call someone to pick him up. You're just going to like send him back into the woods at like 2 a.m. on Christmas Day in a store. Like,
yeah.
This poor kid.
I know.
But I did really enjoyed the little girls and their excitement about Christmas and trying to stay awake to see Father Christmas. And yeah, the kind of the behind the scenes of how much work their mom and grandma had put into making Christmas special for them.
Yes.
So that was really, really sweet. But yeah, the interlude with the little boy was kind of odd, I thought.
Okay. Yeah, it is kind of random. I think maybe the first time I would have felt like it was random. What did you think, Rainey?
Well, full disclosure, I didn't get it finished because I was looking all over the place for it, or like a compilation, and like my library doesn't have it.
Oh yeah.
And like I couldn't find it on Scribd or anything like that. So like yesterday, I think it was, Chelsea sent me a bunch of copies from that archive.org. But the only thing was all the copies you could only borrow for an hour. So I didn't get a chance to start like reading it until I was at work today. So like I'd have little pockets of time where I could read it, and then it would go back. So then I'd have to like wait and redo. And I mean, that's not terribly hard, but it just wasn't like, it wasn't as easy for me to be reading it. But I got enough of it done that I can say that it was very cozy. I felt very, could definitely like, it felt very seasonal, you know. Yeah, I would like some Christmas books. I'm like, I mean, this says it's Christmas, but I don't feel the cold. I don't feel.
Oh, sorry.
Did I? Oh, okay.
You didn't do anything. There we go. I accidentally clicked on something.
I just saw me all of a sudden. I was like, everybody leave but me. That's not a good thing.
We're still here.
But yeah, but I really enjoyed it, and I think I'm gonna continue it after. And then I'm thinking, like, I didn't really look into this, but I guess we're reading Miss Quinn next month.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I can maybe find. I was gonna try, because your copy is Miss Quinn with other stories, right?
Yeah, mine is. It includes Village Christmas and the Christmas Mouse and No Holly for Miss Quinn. It's called Christmas at Fairacre.
Okay, yeah, I was looking for that one too, and I don't think I could find that. I don't know. I found it somewhere, but it wasn't. Oh, I found it on Amazon, I think, but it wasn't going to get to me till like April 9th, and I'm like, that's
yes,
like that's not going to do me any good. But it might for next month, so I might listen to that.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's that's, you get so used to the like 2-day Amazon shipping that when there's some like random product that you want that's longer, it's like, but why?
Why do I have to wait?
Yes.
I want it now.
Oh, yay. Lots of love for Rosamund Pilcher. Lots of short stories.
I have to turn
Shelley
down.
read Winter Solstice for the first time this winter. Yeah, she's very Miss Reed approved.
We'll have to read her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't tried any Pilcher.
Yeah. Oh, she's great. I think I really do. Coming Home is just amazing. So, okay, if anyone is watching this now with little ears or is watching it back later, I want to talk about Santa. So, okay. I want to talk about Santa. You have your warning now.
I've been warned.
So the whole drama about like whether, was it Jane, I think was the older sister, was going to find out about the truth about Santa, is completely lost on me. We grew up not believing in Santa, like Santa was a game that you did. And so I'm just like always so skeptical about it. Like, but it's so sad. Like then they do find out and it's been this magical experience. And then like Christmas is just ruined after they find out. And obviously it's not because people do it with their kids. So they recover. But that whole drama, I was like, well, she's got to find out sometime.
And I didn't know Santa either. So I can never understand that whole
drama.
The whole drama. Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't feel like my Christmases weren't magical.
Yeah.
As a kid, like I still loved Christmas and it was still amazing.
Yes. And
I was so excited to come down and see the presents, even though I knew my parents had bought them. Like it wasn't like yeah.
And it's funny too, because we would still leave out milk and cookies. Like we're going to play Santa. And now that's what the boys do. Like they think it's so great to leave out milk and cookies.
We didn't do milk and cookies or letter to Santa or cares for the reindeer or any of that. It was
yes.
We sometimes write like on a gift tag like from Santa,
like
as a prank. We're basically starting in October. Anytime anyone wants anything in their family, you'll be like, well, you better tell Santa you want that. On our phones.
I mean, I have to say, like, it's a really cool notion. Like, I wish Santa was real. Like, and what's funny is my husband's like, and he's so strong too. Like, he's able to like, he's buff. Santa's like big and buff. Going down chimney.
And technically, Santa was real because it was St. Nicholas.
Actually, and do you know what he did to a heretic at the Nicene Council?
Punched him on the nose.
Oh, I do. Okay, I did hear that.
Which I just love because I think
that's how you know he was buff Santa.
Exactly. I think what the debate was whether Jesus existed before the incarnation. And so this heretic was saying like, no, he didn't exist before the incarnation. And St. Nicholas got so mad that he punched him. Yes. Yep. I just love it. It's like, I mean, I think it's a fun game.
Yeah. I did grow up with Santa. But it.
How are you doing? Like, how did you cope after the news?
Well, I figured it out for myself. So it wasn't, there was no, this is how I remember it, is that I had already found out, okay, all the little kids are away, right? Okay. I discovered about the birds and the bees from Little House on the Prairie.
Yes. We talked about this.
Yeah. So then it was, I mean, that was probably in the summertime, maybe. But so then it got to be Christmas time and we were at church. And we were Catholic at the time. Uh-huh. So I was up looking at the nativity and things. We may have just gone to communion. I don't know why I was standing up there, but I was like sitting there and I'm like 8 years old. I turned around. I'm like, there's no Santa, is there? And my mom's like, well, I mean, Dad is Santa. And I was like, how about the Easter Bunny? And she was like, nope, also Dad. And I was like, the Tooth Fairy. And I just like started running through all these things. And I was like,
just crushed all your childhood dreams at once.
At church, no less. So then I was like, am I still going to get presents? And Mom's like, well, yes, your dad is Santa. So yes, you're going to get presents. I was like, okay.
But you hadn't processed it enough. Like all along, Santa had not been giving you presents.
Right. It's like, so that bike I got last year, not from Santa, but from you. And it's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. You were like, okay, kind of the big excitement of Christmas. That's still happening.
Yeah. I was like, I'm still going to get presents, so I'm okay. And then the biggest stress, though, was I was only 8 years old. So my mom like had to drill it into me. Do not tell your friends. Don't say anything to anyone.
My parents didn't tell me that, and I got in a fight with my whole second grade class.
Oh no!
And then my teacher read, "Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa," aloud to the whole class.
Oh no!
And then the next day I came to school and was like, "I believe in Santa," actually, just to get them off my back.
Aww.
Have you seen The Santa Claus with Tim Allen?
Yes, I love it.
I love when Charlie comes and tells him, at the very beginning of the movie, and he's like, Santa isn't real. And so then Scott is confronting his ex-wife Laura. He's like, "Did you tell him that Santa isn't real?" And she's like, "Well, Neil sat him down and said that, Santa's more a state of mind." And he's like Neil. He's more a state of mind than a person.
Yeah. I need to watch that movie again.
It's so intense. Okay, Shelly, how old was he? Although if he's getting the birds and the bees talk, like, how old are we talking?
Yeah. Although the birds and the bees talk can be as late as like 13.
Right. Although not nowadays, I feel like.
Well, yeah, probably not. I mean, my mom never got the birds and the bees talk, so because that was like old school, like we can't talk about that. That's just
yeah, 5th grade. Okay, so he was like 11. Yeah.
That's not.
I feel like that's not too
normal.
early to break his heart about Santa. And he lives to tell the tale. He's okay. And I think I'm kind of making like a straw man out of like, oh, you find it ruins your whole life.
Oh, my aunt, she had twins, and it was like such a struggle. Like she did not want to tell them. And it just went on and on and on. I think even they didn't really believe, but nobody would say anything.
Oh, they were like, "We don't want to make mom sad."
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Like mom still thinks we believe, so
precious.
Well, I don't know. Just
yes,
just no.
Well,
one time I was like
on Tyler's Row or the Christmas Fest. Were you going to say something, Chelsea?
Yeah, about the Easter Bunny. So I didn't realize that people actually believed in the Easter Bunny when I was little. Because I was like, Santa I could kind of see because it was like a person. So I'm like, okay, I can kind of see how people could believe that. But like the Easter Bunny was so like obviously far-fetched to me that I was like, I didn't realize that there was actually people who like believed in an Easter Bunny. And then I was over at these people's house when I was like 5 years old. And they were like, "We have to clean up our room because the bunnies have such big feet that if we don't clean up our room, there won't be room for it to hop through and leave our Easter basket." And I'm like standing there like, what in the world? Like in my mind, I'm like, this is like your parents are manipulating you into cleaning your room. There's no Easter.
That's amazing. It's a genius.
Yeah, I had that moment I hadn't actually realized that people like actually physically believed in like a real rabbit bouncing around their home, leaving presents for them.
Funny.
I think the Easter Bunny for me was just one of those things like that I just believed in it because I believed in Santa and the Tooth Fairy. And I was just like, okay. That's just like Easter wasn't like that big of a deal present wise. So I was like, nah, whatever.
Yeah. Unbelievable. It's like just a small present for a rabbit to bring around. Like
right.
Also, how did it I feel like I looked this up and I've forgotten, but how it came about that a rabbit would bring eggs. Like
I don't know.
That seems weird.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us to discuss Tyler's Row and the Christmas Mouse and Santa and the Easter Bunny.
And the birds and the bees, apparently.
And the birds and the bees, apparently.
We're sorry.
So next month we will be back, and I have to like have a look here because I looked at the title earlier, but it is
Farther Afield
and No Holly for Miss Quinn. So we don't have a live show date picked out, but I will post on Instagram shortly. And thank you for watching.
Bye.